when I'm here, I'm workable, I have a trigger event, I'm starting to get upset, this is where I try and intervene with the student. Once I'm here, I'm not going to have a whole lot of conversation at that point, but when the student is coming back down and getting back in that calm. So how do we develop strategies to help people understand that cycle when students are upset or having a tough day? And of course the district is moving ahead with strategic planning. I think it was a smart idea to have that objective eye. You know, again, I think it validated some things, and I want to say, do we have really good things going on? We do. Do we have excellent faculty? They go above and beyond. They love working with kids. Yes, we do. They go out of their way, out of their way to make kids successful and to get them to that next level. Have our teachers had the kind of support, training, development to help us kind of meet the needs of kids on a K-12 system basis? I think that's an area of opportunity. I think that's a growth opportunity for us. So it was a lot in that report, but I think there, as you read it, you saw patterns. Those are kind of the patterns that I picked out. You couldn't take on everything in that all at once. We would overwhelm our staff and faculty. So I think those are kind of the big things to start with, and then develop a plan going out with that as part of our strategic plan. Good faculty, good staff, some areas to grow in, but also doing some good stuff as well. Questions, or back to you?
Thank you, Frank.
We will have questions.
Well, you started, Dr. Olson, talking about the way you met this person. How much did we end up paying for this?
One or about $8,000.
Because I just want to say, reading through it, I think, just as we heard, I think the recommendations are probably on spot, and it's what I've been hearing from the first day. But I think from a financial responsibility as a board member, I just have to express and be certain to say that I was incredibly disappointed with the quality of this report. And I could go on forever, but we don't have time, so I'll just give you like my top 3 or 5. She says that she's going to use a matrix to determine her outcome, but 2/5 of the matrix isn't completed. 40% of the work that we're paying her to do, she didn't do. Now I understand she says there's reasons, okay, that the event was done, the report was done over the summer. Personally, I don't know why you can't do parent surveys in the summer. That doesn't require you to be here. But that's 40% of the work that didn't get done. They said they would meet with special ed teachers. I mean, at least 3 of the secondary teachers weren't met with. They said that their comparison group was East Greenbush, Hyde Park, Schodack, South Colony, and Union Springs. I have no idea on what criteria you could come up with those as comparing to us. If you just took the simplest, easiest one of size alone, we have 560-something students. East Greenbush has 5,000. Hyde Park, 3,500. Schodack, 931. South Colony, 4,800. Union Springs gets close, 849. I think the region too, Capital Region, that's fine, but what's the connection to here? And then even some of their findings, they say finding 3, they cite observations of classroom, which they say they didn't do. So it just seems to me that they mailed this report in. And again, I am not questioning the findings. I think, as we heard here, we should give the support, training, development that we can for our teachers. But frankly, I'd ask for a refund from them. I mean, they didn't do the work that they say they're going to do.
I'm wondering, can we get that survey done now? Can we get it done? I don't know why not. That seems like that would be an easy thing, and that might be a next step. That was kind of a red flag to me, the survey not being done. But I agree that we've been hearing the findings have been repeated over and over again.
We know that.
And a couple of them were kind of exciting to me. One is that it's clear that we need to take a look at our resources. We need to add some resources, and we need to redistribute others. And that's going to be a good thing, I think. And the other thing that some little thing, and this was like very teacherly, but in the report, they talked about monitoring IEPs, and I feel like when I was a classroom teacher, I had tremendous support from the special ed department if I wanted to. I think Mike saved me, Kathy saved me when I had a reading question. That's all I had to do. But in terms of monitoring IEPs, I, as a classroom teacher, should have been doing that. And that's going to be exciting when that becomes system-wide. I think that's going to be a good thing. The other thing I saw in that section was an opportunity to define data, because when we look at these reports, all we see are testing data, and they talked about formative assessments and other ways we could define the data to prove that our kids are successful. So I thought that was exciting. But again, the methodology I would question too. Okay.
I'll get back to you.
Okay, about the survey. So
Definitely.
why can't we?
Yeah, I'll certainly follow up.
Okay, thank you. Okay, can I have motions to approve the people that are listed on board docs as members to the strategic plan core team as recommended by the superintendent?
I'll second.
Okay.
I won't leave you hanging.
Do this fast. Okay, any discussion? Any discussion, yes.
I don't know, but if I abstain, we really got a problem here. So.
Discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, that brings us to information and correspondence. We have administrators' reports. The two principals aren't here this evening to answer questions. Do you have anything you want to ask or find out about in the future? And we have the superintendent's update.
Sure. I met with our state senator Valesky last week. We spent several hours together, and he did a tour of the entire campus. Very impressed. But we also talked about the financial landscape from Albany's perspective, and there are two things that we have our eyes on. One, that Wall Street is not doing as well as projected, which means less money coming up to Albany. And the other thing is the wild card in terms of what the president will do with regard to Obamacare or the Affordable Health Care Act. He indicated that New York State is very well invested in the Affordable Health Care Act, and any dramatic change really shifts the pot of money in New York State. So those were just two surface issues. It's nothing he's concerned about. We did spend time on the 21st Century Community Learning Center grant, and he is going to work with me as a partner in trying to help us in any way he can. We'll be following up on that as well. So that's a very important piece, and very impressed, of course, when he came through the building, and it's always good to have the support of our...
Did he get to meet kids?
He did meet, yeah, he spoke, in addition to elementary classrooms, he spoke with kids in Ms. Bossard's classroom, and it was a very good day. In other news, we were recognized by Niche.com, top 100 district in New York State, one of 5 in central New York. So as much as we have challenges, we also have the job getting done for kids, which is what this is all about. So that's nice. I did attend for part of the day yesterday. Mr. Raines took some students over to Madison Oneida BOCES for Chasing Greatness Youth Success Summit, and I actually gave the keynote speech, and just great to have youngsters at the high school level. And so that's my report, and we're happy about that.
Okay, we don't have our secondary person or our HISP board member, but we do have our elementary steering team person here. Did you guys meet?
We've met once since the last meeting.
Okay.
We've talked mainly focused on the school, we talked about communication, we're gonna work on practices there. We also talked about, the parent-teacher conferences. There's a couple things that we'd like to work on with that piece, and, Kevin was supposed to send some stuff around to the teachers about, being able to send something home to the parents first with a questionnaire, basically saying, is there anything that you want to cover as well, to give the teachers the opportunity to prep for that, since the meetings are short, to make sure that both parties had the ability to talk, and be prepared for their pieces. So we're with that not happening for the first round of teacher conferences, we're gonna give it a try for this next round and see how that works, for all parties. That was a big piece that we talked about yesterday.
Thank you, Susan. And Dr. Alston can give a HSP.
Sure. Where we are with the HISP update is at our last meeting, we had the presentations from individuals who identified potential problems and potential solutions. At the next meeting, there were 4 people left over who didn't get a chance to present, and they will present. And at the next meeting, Mr. Arquette and Ms. Sunderman will frame out the categories. It really comes down to about 4 categories, maybe one more, that everything fits under, and then we're going to assign subcommittees to do the work. And that's where we are with the HISP update. We probably, Riley will do the video update. So we look forward to Riley getting behind the camera.
How about a strategic plan update?
Sure.
That would be you.
The strategic plan update, the faculty and staff have taken the school performance scan, I think on December 5th. Mr. Raines is working as our internal facilitator, and what he is working on is getting focus groups to be interviewed, because part of that mixed method study is survey and interview. Tonight or tomorrow, the family/community engagement survey will be live and on the web. There is a video promotion that I did a brief introduction, but Carly Belanger is going to promote the community engagement survey. That is different than the faculty one, because the faculty one did it all in one day. Community survey is different in that you go online and you put in the password, which is right under it, and you simply enter in your data, and that's going to stay open till about either the 22nd or the 30th, whichever, of December. So that needs to be open for a longer window, and there'll be updates as we go along. So for example, there is a possibility that there might be a snow day, and so if there is, just based on the weather forecast, so if we have to call in a snow day, I'll also use the back end of that message to say, by the way, the family engagement survey is up and on the web.
Could we put it on Next Door Hamilton, just so people are aware that it's up on, and they would have a reason to come to the website if they otherwise wouldn't? I didn't. I'll do it.
Okay, I'll send you that as well. Okay.
We'll talk about it. We'll collaborate, so I get it.
Yep.
But I'll do that, yeah.
That is the strategic plan update.
And then the last thing we have on the formal agenda is the broadband telecommunications services.
Okay. It's Ms. Lobster, but I'll set the table for her.
Okay.
So I took it off the agenda so that until we're clear on whether or not we want to allow any new items on the agenda for action. However, our broadband contract was renewed in 2013. I'm looking for my particular paper. However,
This one?
no.
It's the new one.
Yep, I have some special paper. And that expired, and while we were looking at different options, Ms. Lobster is going to get into the technical aspect what we have in place in terms of broadband, while the contract was renewed in 2013, what we found out from Rick is it's from 2004. So the amount of bandwidth that we have in our system, and I think the analogy I used with the plumbing, which she's going to take over in a minute, is from 2004. And so the contract ran out, and we have been taking a close look at our infrastructure, and the opportunity now is to upgrade it. And I had a couple of conversations with members of the board, and whether we do it this month or next month, the difference is a month. So we could have had it up and running in January, and it would add some benefit. But probably better that we just have a discussion until we're clear on whether or not we want to allow anything new to the agenda after it goes live. Ms. Lobster?
So, a little nervous tonight, but if you don't mind, I'm going to read something that came from the experts at the RIC regarding this situation. This is from our educational technology planner, Marie Haddad, and we were just looking for some information about currently what we have in place and what this upgrade might mean for us. So here's her email. The district's daily processes currently utilize 90% of our 1 megabyte line, which spikes to 97% during our nightly backups. We have a nightly backup to the RIC with all of our data. Best practice is to stay at or below 50% line capacity. So by increasing our line to 1 gigabyte, the district will experience a more consistent, smoother experience without any bottlenecking, even with its current infrastructure. Additionally, once we upgrade the infrastructure, we will utilize the full potential of that 1 gig bandwidth line. In addition, she also points out some information regarding the smart schools. The Smart Schools Bond Act states the district should have a minimum of 1 megabyte per second for each 1,000 students. By upgrading to a 1 gigabyte line, you're future-proofing your capacity to support and sustain your increased use of classroom technology such as Google Apps, Bring Your Own Device, BYOD, and the implementation of computer-based testing, which require increased bandwidth. Additionally, new federal and state initiatives over the next few years will continue to impact districts' reliance on technology as a method of delivering content and assessment for students. So, currently, since 2004, we've had 100 megs. We are interested in going up to a 1 gig to support what we have in district and what we are probably going to have to put on the network in the future.
And it's my understanding that it's cheaper to upgrade than what we were paying?
Right now, we're paying month to month
Okay.
because the contract did expire.
Okay.
So we're paying about $800 a month. If we were to upgrade, and that's for the 100 meg.
Okay.
If we upgrade to the 1 gig, it's the numbers. It's like 700 something.
78.69, so it's
Yeah.
a little bit less.
A little bit less
Plus minus, but.
than that 800. However, if we were going to renew a 3-year contract with the 100 meg that we currently have, then it would be less expensive.
I guess I'd like to see the data that shows and explains more how we're actually using the 100 meg. That the megabytes that they say that were 90% usage is what you said. I'd like to see some data on that, and I think that your IT committee should see that as well. I find that interesting that's even possible, knowing that if a place and has a smaller, like say 50 megabytes, and they don't use the whole thing with the same type, especially since all of our students aren't on the internet at the same time. I also am interested in the fact that right now we're talking about a pipe, but we're also talking about the funnel that's going into it. So if our funnel is only funneling us so much, if we can get a bigger funnel, the pipe might actually make it feel like we're moving faster. So I think that we need a lot more data before we upgrade that piece of it. I think it might be more important to upgrade the systems in the building first before we upgrade the the pipes. So I think that there's more information that we need. So I think it's important that you and the technology committee and the RIC provide us with a little bit more data before we move forward with that.
Could you clarify what it is the first thing that you wanted more information on?
The data that shows that we're using 90% of the 100 meg.
97 at 90. You said 97 when we're backing
90%
up.
of the 100 meg during the day, 97% at
At
night.
90.
during
And so
our backup.
I guess I'm interested to see if there's data that they can show us that shows that. 'Cause again, I don't see that.
How about-
If I may, in addition, the smart bond says that minimum of 100 megs, so.
Okay.
You know, from the financial, if I can jump in, it's really not that much different from, it's Time Warner. It's really no different than if you have Time Warner at home. And you kind of lock in at a rate, you know, it's the old column and, oh, we have another offer that it's the same thing, but, or it's better, but it's cheaper moving forward. So it's really not that much different. So as long, we can pay it month by month in perpetuity. But this is an opportunity for 3 years to lock in at that price that's lower than, and as far as the, just to clarify, the RIC on our behalf communicates with Time Warner. So we don't have, I don't talk to Time Warner. It's, they're handling Time Warner. I would imagine they have a better time than us residents do getting contact because they have a number of school districts that are being serviced through the RIC. But
Well, if we locked in at the lower,
in concept, I don't think it's that much
sense to
different.
lock in at the lower.
What's that?
It doesn't make any sense to lock in at the lower speed, at the lower bandwidth.
Well, no, except if you, as she said, if you lock in at the lower bandwidth, then the price is gonna go down too. What we're paying now is a month to month. If we lock in at the 1 meg, it's gonna be lower than locking in at the 1 gig.
It's 100
The question
meg.
is it needed? I mean, the conversation I've heard before is the bandwidth isn't our problem. We have bandwidth, that's how we get information to the bandwidth. That's the problem. I'm not an expert to know the difference.
Yeah,
But I
that's
think,
fine, we'll find
especially
out.
for a 3-year investment, it's something we need to know.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly.
Where is the problem? The funnel or the pipe, to use plumbing terms.
Well,
Constantly.
I think,
I think that that's really important to get some of the data, especially since you have a technology committee and
Yeah.
since we're not in, if we can do this deal again in February, then we have a little bit of time to
Right.
talk about what is important and what is the most important thing right now. And
What's connected to what else,
And what,
you know?
like, what should we be fixing first? And there are reasons to fix one thing over the other, but then there's also reasons to do it the opposite way. So I really think that this is important for us to look into deeper.
I'm going to ask, Ms. Lobster had the expert from RIC present the other day to the elementary and secondary committees. I think this board should get that presentation. Was that Maria Rocker?
Yes, it was.
Because they handle 56 districts and 4 BOCES. They handle MO BOCES. So as much as local capacity we have in terms of talent and ability, I don't know that we get higher up than the MORIC.
But she's the one who said
I
that the
hear you.
bandwidth we have is adequate. She, in those committee meetings, said that the bandwidth we have is adequate, which I think is why we're bringing up the question. If she comes to us and says,
100 megs is adequate.
what we have is adequate,
Well,
she's
It's
the
not
expert.
saying that we shouldn't do more, but.
We're going to have it, and not to worry. We'll have this.
Yeah, we can ask her.
And we'll ultimately get what I think will help us is a broader presentation from the RIC. And that'll keep us going forward.
So that could be next one.
Right, so we'll have to work that out.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
That brings us to our second opportunity for community participation. Come on up. And would you turn it on? Would you turn it, Travis? So we can-
Travis, let me quick. I just want to touch on something you suggested, Terry, about for general information for the public using nextdoor.com. I would avoid that like the plague. I think-
Not even to note that people are.
Well, it goes into 2 things. One, I think as a district, we need to funnel in the sources of information to the public, because if we announce that one thing on there, for example, people might not hear about something else. You know, well, I didn't see it on Nextdoor. You know, if you're going to do something like that, you need to have a policy for where the information should be. Maybe it should be in the mid-York. The other thing about that particular source of information is it is just good in theory, but I don't have to tell you guys if you know enough about it. It's just, you're going to get misinformation, you're going to create more problems by using that particular site than if you had just done it another way. I would just avoid it with the plate for all that stuff. There's other things, but the time's short, so that's it.
Thank you, Travis.
Kathy Roy. I wanted to speak to the special education review. I'm an 8-year member of the middle school, high school RTI committee. So I kind of took a special interest when I saw that RTI was obviously included. And what I would like to do is bring to light some statements that are in the report that in my mind cast doubt on the validity of the entire review. First off, on page 22, it states, progress monitoring for Hamilton is almost non-existent and is in an area of much needed improvement. What's important to note is that every 5 weeks, a core group from the middle school, high school RTI committee meet in order to monitor the student progress at the middle school, high school level. At this meeting, we're able to place students in the support area needed. It could be SLC, RTI math, or a reading class. For the past 4 years, I've created a spreadsheet that's shared with special education teachers, counselors, ELA teachers, and administration. The document includes my Fontes and Pinnell scores and now my NWEA scores. The results have assisted us in focusing the strategies that are working for our students in reading. On page 24, it states, it's highly recommended the district continues to move forward with the newly developed district RTI committee. The members of the RTI committee have not changed in the 8 years since its inception. This speaks to the dedication of the members and to the fact that it is not a new process. In 2009, Hamilton Central went above and beyond the state-mandated K-2 implementation to include K through 12. It should also be noted that HCS was so far out in front of the state mandate that in 2010, our RTI team presented to the Madison United BOCES superintendents regarding what the team had created in order to build a successful 6 through 12 RTI model. On page 26, it's recommended that the district develop consistent universal screening. Since 2008, the district benchmarks using Fontes and Pinnell 3 times per year. This is the universal screening used as required by the previous superintendent. Now we are also required to benchmark using NWEA 3 times per year. Lastly, on page 27, it states that we should transform study halls into intervention labs with software programs where students can engage in self-paced intervention activities. It's important to note that within the first 5 weeks of school, any student failing 2 or more class is moved into an RTI intervention program. Again, this could be the SLC room, RTI math, or reading. Unless we do not have a class available, which is a staffing issue, not a scheduling issue, as indicated in the report several times. The author's suggestion for improvement seemed to indicate a lack of knowledge in our district, leading me to wonder if we would be in this position now if someone had taken the time to ask some questions, but most importantly, learn the history of our RTI process.
Thank you.
Oh, go ahead.
Keep calling us now.
I throw this down except it's your wife.
Rick Hansen. I want to start first, I want to thank Fred for his kind words earlier. Special ed kind of took a beating today. And also, Mr. Lehman mentioned the districts that they compared us to. The average enrollment was 3,056 students in those districts, compared to our 500 or so students. Hyde Park, South Colony, Schodack, East Greenbush, and Union Springs. They also didn't observe the students in the classroom and didn't survey the parents. I think the excuse was that it was June. As far as I know, those are work days to me, and we're still hard at it. And I just don't know where these folks were, and I'm really dissatisfied with the survey. And I just wanted to make sure. I know you mentioned these things already, but these were the items that I wanted to speak to. And this RTI program takes place across the hall from me, and I grind my teeth looking across the hall. And that meeting's going until 4 and after 4 in the afternoon, when contractually these teachers can leave at 3:15, and I'm a kind of stickler for that. And I see them over there addressing those issues well into the afternoon, so, okay?
Thank you.
Yep.
I just, now that the core team is out, I've been asked several times today. I'm concerned about the lack of diversity on the core team. I think Dr. Olson already knows what I'm referring to, but I haven't spoken with you directly, so maybe I'm incorrect. But of the 26 members of the team, 9 work for Colgate, one more is a Colgate spouse. 12 of the 26 are members of our HCS employees, another spouse of a current HCS board member, another a former HCS board member, and 2 teachers that work at Sherburne Earlville. When I look at the survey that people, or the form that people were asked to complete, it asks, do you own or run a business in this community? If yes, indicate below. Do you work for a large community partner organization? For example, Colgate Community Memorial Hospital. I think that is off-putting. I think that it disinvites persons who just work as employees in organizations. I think that it's my understanding that there was some outreach, direct outreach to people asking them to be participants. And if that's the case, I hope that people from all sectors of our community were asked. I hope that our farming community was asked. I hope that the Hamilton Initiative was asked. I hope that PCD was asked. I hope that persons who, as I say, who don't own businesses but work. I hope that retirees were asked. I hope that the Rotary was asked. It strikes me that that something as critical as this strategic plan, we need a more diverse and representative group than a group that's dominated so heavily by ourselves and Colgate. Thank you.
Thank you. Can I have motions to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you for coming.